In remote sales, these 5 things are what I found to be the most important in terms of leveling up your skills, your income, and ultimately yourself. So in this video, I'll be diving into these 5, starting with the most important, which of course is yourself. So what I mean by leveling up yourself is just going to the gym, eating the right foods, the right waters, cutting out all the vices, the weed, the alcohol, the partying, the sleeping around with the girls, and just ultimately destroying yourself. And that will definitely lead up into your sales calls, because if you're fucked up from the night before, partying, drinking, smoking, and you're hopping on these sales calls not 100% there, you're not going to be able to close deals as efficient as you could, because you're going to be operating at a lower efficient level. Now, of course, there still will be some lay down closes that no matter if you're retarded or the best salesman in the world, you still probably will close some deals, but you won't be maximizing your income potential. And with yourself as well, the more present you are in a sales call, the more you're able to do the inner work, level up yourself, go to the gym, invest in yourself, and do all of these things. From firsthand experience, I've seen that that's been the most important factor in leveling up my income. I went from like 4 to 6K a month as a setter to 20 to 22,000 a month within a year and a half, just from leveling up myself, cutting out the alcohol, cutting out the weed, the vices, and just focusing on myself and honing in on my craft. Now, with leveling up yourself as well, that also means focusing, of course, on going to the gym, your diet, your sleep, and just leveling up in all different categories. Because with your sleep, that's probably the most important thing that I found that I was struggling with most, because I would literally stay up until 6 or 7 a.m. starting from like 10 p.m. I would work until then. And then I would sleep until maybe 5 or 6 p.m. And I wasn't getting that high quality sleep because I wasn't getting sunlight. I wasn't going outside. And I was just basically locked in my room like a prison cell. So to fix that, I basically just flipped that schedule around and made sure I got sunlight, and I invested in the sleeping mask. 1 second, guys. These 2 things greatly improved my sleep, and that is the shh tape, which you just put over your mouth, because to be honest, I was a bit of a mouth breather when I was sleeping. So just investing I think it was like $7 for that, I was able to fix that pretty much immediately. And then right here, I'm not sponsored, guys, but this is like the Manta Mask Pro, and it cuts out all light in your room. It feels like you're not wearing anything at all. And I mean, it's so comfortable. You don't even feel like it's on, and I sleep within 5 to 10 minutes. And last but not least, guys, one more tip: magnesium glycinate. Now, these bad boys right here, you take 2 or 3 of those bad boys, and 10 to 15 minutes later, you feel like jelly, and you literally just fall right asleep, and you wake up like a fucking superhero. Trust me, guys. And I think those 3 things have helped me greatly improve my sleep. I wish you guys saw me a year and a half ago. I had like bags of fucking the darkest eyes you've ever seen. I was operating at a lower frequency level just because I was so tired, and it reflected in my sales calls with the voice, the energy I was portraying. Literally, my setter manager was listening in on one of my calls, and I was literally just like listening and saying I literally probably said 4 words that entire call as a setter. I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, sounds like you're a good fit. Let's go ahead and get you booked up to the Anani or whoever the closer was. So yeah, definitely just improving yourself and leveling up all aspects of your life will greatly improve every part of your life. Money, sales, travel, relationships, everything in between. And the reason I put this as number 1 is because I have some students, they got into remote sales, but they just were jerking off all day, weren't eating right, they weren't working out, they weren't getting sunlight, they were doing all the wrong things, giving into vices, and that's why they weren't able to get to where they wanted to be as quick as they wanted to get there, because they weren't at that level where they could easily achieve that. So you have to be at that certain standard, that certain level in life to be able to easily achieve your goals, because how do you expect to lift a 200-pound dumbbell if you feel like you can't even lift a 10-pound dumbbell? So you have to look the part, you have to feel the part, you have to be that person that's able to attain what you want very easily. And then next up, number 2, that is framing the call. So framing the call, I think, is definitely the second important thing here, because if you don't frame the call, if you just let the other person dominate you and rape you on that sales call, especially as a closer, then a few things are going to happen. Number one, you're going to be wasting a lot of your time, the prospect's time, the energy. I mean, it's just going to be a lot of things wasted where you could have just took control, set the frame of the call and been like, hey, John, I know we have a limited amount of time today, so you're pretty much ready to go ahead and get started. And then he's like, okay, great. And you don't just wait for him to start talking and start yapping, because that's when you lose the frame. You kind of got the hook for the frame, and then you gain the frame by saying, so John, in terms of your trading right now, what do you think is the biggest struggle for you? So with that frame, you're basically taking the position of a doctor, trying to diagnose them and see if they have a sickness in the first place. Because if they start yabbering on about this, X, Y, Z, and it's not even about what you need anymore, they're not talking about the information that you want and need to be hearing in order to qualify them, to diagnose them with the solution, which is the product, service, course, mentorship, whatever it is you're selling. You need to be able to frame the call in a way where you're taking control and leading them from point A to point Z and being able to properly diagnose them or not. Because some people, they don't need help. They really don't. And your job as a setter or a closer is to find out if they have a problem in the first place. And then once you find out they have a problem through setting the frame and digging in deep in the discovery to find out what's going on, what problems are they having, why are those problems affecting their lives and everything like that. And once you find out those problems, you literally just find out if they have enough money to solve it. And if they do, just move them on board. So yeah, framing, that's probably the one most important thing I see a lot of people not do. They think it's not that important, but then I watch their sales calls and then it lasts like an hour and 30 minutes long, which is about an hour and 10 minutes way over the time that it should be taking to actually take a sales call. And then, yeah, next up, third on the list is the discovery. So the discovery I'd say is like 80 to 9% of a sales call, especially for remote closers. For setters, it's a little bit more basic. You don't really need to worry about that, but this is more for remote closers. So in the discovery, that's where you're going to get them to sell themselves and find out what their pain points are and touch a little bit deeper on why those pain points are affecting them in the first place. Because as setters or as very basic level closers, most people just find out these pain points and they just leave it at that. They don't try to dig deeper to find out why those pain points are causing them harm. Why haven't they fixed those pain points in the past? And digging in to get as deep as possible in the discovery, because the discovery, that's where the close is really made. It's not through objection handling. It's not through pitching this certain way or anything like that. The close is in the discovery. So most people, they think the discovery is like 50 to 60% of a sales call as a remote closer, but it's pretty much the complete opposite. It's anywhere from 80 to 90% of the call. So you want to spend the majority of your time on the sales call in this discovery process and treating it like you're the doctor, they're the patient, and they have a sickness, which is their lives. And then your service, course, mentorship, whatever you're selling to them from the influencer that you're working for, cures them of the sickness, which is the life that they're living in. So you need to find out in the discovery what their sickness is, how long has it been going on, what are the symptoms, everything in between, and how it would feel to finally be cured in all aspects. And then number 4, guys, the mindset. So the mindset in a sales call as a setter or a closer. Now, what I like to tell my students is that you need to take yourself out of the money-making mindset. And what I mean by that is when you're on a call as a setter or a closer, most of the time you're just thinking about how much commission you'll be earning from this prospect, that prospect, and every prospect in between. But what I found is that when I took myself out of the position of the money making for me and put myself fully in the shoes of the prospect that I was speaking to and just try to feel how they felt, so that way I could see how to lead them best to get them to be closed, then it was a lot easier for me and it felt a lot more fulfilling. Because if I just thought about the money and I didn't get the money from the commission from that sales call, then I would ultimately be depressed and it would ruin my day. So just thinking in terms of the prospect's shoes and their point of view instead of mine and being selfish on my terms, the more I was able to make a lot more money and feel a lot more fulfilled when taking these sales calls and changing people's lives. So coming in with the mindset of being a doctor or a receptionist as a setter, I think that's probably the best mindset you can have. So that way you can actually treat the sales call more professionally. You can be more present, and you can actually help them change their lives and not just think in terms of how much money you'll be making in commission. And then now, guys, last but not least, hopefully your TikTok brain hasn't rotted you away from this video yet, because the last but not least one is your tonality and your speaking. That was one of the biggest turnarounds in my sales career so far, was the way I spoke and my tonality, of course, because when I first started out as a setter, I'm still working on this right now, but like when I stutter or mess up my words, I have to kind of go back and repeat them, but I'm getting a lot better at that, as well as my tonality, because at first when I was setting, basically my tonality was monotone. I was the most boring person to listen to. I sounded like a robot. I even put myself to sleep sometimes. It was very brutal. So getting out of that, all it really took was reading books out loud, recording myself, listening to people with very good tonality, and trying to implicate and copy how they spoke, and just reflected that in my sales calls. And it does take time. It does take practice, repetition, everything in between. But as long as you are very conscious and self-aware of the words coming out of your mouth, and you know when you mess up, when your tonality starts to sound a little bit monotone or a little bit boring, then you're able to be aware of that and fix it pretty much immediately. So it's a very simple process of just input equals output, and the inputs that aren't the ones that you want, in terms of like going back on your videos and watching yourself and it's not what you want to hear, next time when you're talking, you can easily correct it and be better next time. So those are the 5 things that I recommend for you guys to fix and focus on. So that way, if you guys are setting or closing or trying to get into remote sales right now, these 5 things will help you greatly improve and help you get to that 10,000 a month mark, 15, 20,000 a month mark, and so on. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video today, and I will see you guys tomorrow.